Chosen one of God, stop for a moment and listen. You are not here by chance. Every leaf, every breeze, every bird song around you is part of a calling the Creator has placed on your path. The ancient sages used nature to open their spiritual eyes and feel the peace that comes only from above. Today, I will show you how you too can walk that sacred path. There exists a frequency that pulses through every living thing, a sacred vibration that connects the deepest roots of ancient trees to the furthest reaches of your soul. And right now, in this very moment, something within you is beginning to remember. What if everything you thought you knew about your relationship with the natural world was just the surface of an infinite ocean of wisdom that has been calling your name since the day you were born? This isn't coincidence that brought you here today. This is destiny awakening. For countless generations, the most enlightened beings who ever walked this earth understood a profound truth that our modern world has buried beneath layers of concrete, technology, and artificial light. They knew that the boundary between human consciousness and the living intelligence of nature was nothing more than an illusion, a veil that once lifted reveals the most transformative secret of existence. Every mountain holds memories. Every ocean carries ancient songs. Every forest whispers forgotten truths that could revolutionize how you see yourself and your place in the cosmos. If something deep inside your chest is stirring as you hear these words, stay with me, because we're about to unlock doorways that have been sealed for centuries. The indigenous peoples of every continent shared a common understanding that seems impossible to our rational minds, yet rings true in the deepest chambers of our hearts. They lived not as separate beings observing nature from the outside, but as conscious threads woven into the very fabric of a living, breathing, thinking planet. The Aboriginal Dreamtime, the Celtic connection to sacred groves, the Native American recognition of all beings as relatives, the Hindu understanding of consciousness in every stone and stream, all point to the same revolutionary truth. What if your body isn't separate from the Earth's body, but an extension of it? What if your thoughts aren't generated solely within your skull, but are part of a vast network of planetary intelligence that includes the mycelial networks beneath your feet, the electrical storms above your head, and the magnetic field that surrounds our entire world? The ancients didn't believe this, they experienced it as direct, undeniable reality. But here's where it gets truly extraordinary. These awakened beings developed what we might call technologies of consciousness, precise methods for dissolving the illusion of separation and accessing the boundless wisdom that flows through every natural system. They discovered that when you align your inner rhythms with the pulse of the living earth, something magical happens. You begin to receive guidance, healing, and insight directly from the intelligence that orchestrates the migration of birds, the blooming of flowers, and the turning of seasons. The sacred mathematics are everywhere once you learn to see them. The golden ratio spiraling through nautilus shells and galaxy arms, the Fibonacci sequences in pinecone scales and human DNA, the fractal patterns that repeat from the branching of your lungs to the branching of river deltas. This isn't random coincidence. This is the signature of a cosmic intelligence expressing itself through infinite forms. And you, as a human being, are one of its most sophisticated expressions. Ancient mystery schools taught that by consciously participating in these patterns, by breathing with the forests, by moving with the tides, by opening your awareness to the subtle communications constantly flowing from the natural world, you could awaken dormant capacities that most people never even imagine exist. They called it many names: the green language, earth wisdom, the original instructions, but they all pointed to the same thing: a way of being in the world that transforms you from a separate observer into a conscious collaborator in the grand symphony of life. If you're feeling something awakening within you, don't let this moment pass. Follow us and share in the comments what nature has been trying to tell you. But perhaps the most astounding discovery of these ancient wisdom keepers was that nature doesn't just provide resources for physical survival, it provides templates for spiritual evolution. Every ecosystem is a living laboratory of cooperation, resilience, and creative adaptation. The mycorrhizal networks that connect forest trees in underground information highways mirror the neural networks in your brain. The way ant colonies make collective decisions without central authority reflects the deeper democracy of consciousness itself. The regenerative cycles that transform death into life in every compost pile hold keys to your own psychological and spiritual renewal. The old ones understood that by studying nature's intelligence deeply and intimately, they weren't just learning about the external world, they were discovering the deepest patterns of their own consciousness. They recognized that the same creative force that shapes galaxies and grows crystals is the force that beats your heart and generates your thoughts. This recognition didn't remain theoretical. It became the foundation for practices that could fundamentally alter their relationship with reality. Imagine what it would be like to sit beside a river and actually feel its thoughts, to place your hands on the bark of an oak tree and receive the accumulated wisdom of centuries, to watch the flight patterns of birds and understand the messages they carry between the worlds. For the ancients, this wasn't poetry or metaphor, this was everyday reality. They had developed what we might call organs of perception that allowed them to commune directly with the consciousness present in all natural forms. And here's the secret that could change everything for you. Those organs of perception haven't disappeared from human beings. They've simply gone dormant, waiting for the right conditions to reactivate. The same intelligence that guided our ancestors for millennia is still speaking, still teaching, still offering its infinite wisdom to any human being willing to remember how to listen. The challenge is that our current civilization has created an almost perfect system for blocking out nature's voice. We live in electromagnetic fields that interfere with our natural sensitivity. We breathe air filtered through machines instead of trees. We see artificial light instead of the full spectrum of the sun. We hear mechanical noise instead of the subtle sounds of wind and water. This isn't just making us physically sick, it's creating a kind of spiritual deafness that cuts us off from our deepest source of guidance and healing. Yet the beauty is that reconnecting doesn't require abandoning modern life or moving to a remote wilderness. The ancient masters developed practices that can be adapted to any environment, techniques that gradually restore your natural sensitivity regardless of where you live or what your circumstances might be. One of the most powerful approaches they discovered was what we might call conscious embodiment with natural rhythms. This goes far beyond simply spending time outdoors, though that's certainly valuable. It involves learning to attune your internal states to the subtle cycles that govern all life on Earth. The daily rhythm of light and darkness, the monthly cycle of lunar phases, the seasonal transitions that orchestrate growth, rest, death, and renewal. When you begin to live in conscious harmony with these rhythms, something profound shifts in your entire being. Your sleep becomes deeper and more restorative. Your energy flows more naturally throughout the day. Your emotional responses become more balanced and appropriate. Your creative inspiration aligns with natural cycles of receptivity and expression. You begin to feel supported by forces much larger than your individual will, carried by currents of intelligence that know exactly where you need to go. The ancients taught that nature communicates through what they called the three languages of the living world. The first is the language of energy, the subtle vibrations and emanations that every place and being continuously broadcasts. When your sensitivity is awakened, you can feel the specific quality of different landscapes, the unique signature of various trees and plants, the emotional atmosphere of different weather patterns. Sacred sites around the world were recognized because sensitive individuals could perceive their special energetic properties, their capacity to facilitate healing, vision, or spiritual transformation. The second language is the symbolic dimension, the way natural forms and events carry meaning that speaks directly to the unconscious mind. The appearance of certain animals at significant moments, the patterns formed by clouds or flowing water, the way plants grow in response to unseen influences, all become a rich vocabulary for communication between human consciousness and the intelligence of the living world. Learning to read these symbols isn't about imposing human meanings onto natural phenomena. It's about developing the sensitivity to perceive the meanings that are actually there. The third language is synchronicity, the mysterious way that inner states and outer events begin to mirror each other when you're truly aligned with natural intelligence. Thoughts appear in your mind just as the perfect bird calls from a nearby tree. You feel drawn to walk in a particular direction and discover exactly the plant medicine your body needs. Weather patterns seem to reflect and respond to your emotional states. Time itself becomes more fluid and meaningful, with events unfolding in sequences too perfectly orchestrated to be mere chance. These aren't superstitions or wishful thinking. They're descriptions of what actually happens when human consciousness remembers its place in the larger web of planetary intelligence. The same organizing principles that coordinate the behavior of billions of cells in your body, that orchestrate the complex interactions of entire ecosystems, that guide the movement of weather systems across continents, begin to include your individual life in their vast, benevolent intelligence. But here's where the ancient teachings become truly revolutionary. They understood that this reconnection with natural wisdom isn't just a personal healing or spiritual development. It's the key to healing the fundamental wound that lies at the root of almost all human suffering, the illusion of separation that makes us feel isolated, anxious, and afraid. When you remember your true relationship with the living world, when you feel in your bones that you are nature becoming conscious of itself, everything changes. Depression often lifts because you realize you're never truly alone. Anxiety diminishes because you feel held by forces infinitely larger and wiser than your small self. Anger transforms because you understand that everything you might want to fight against is actually an aspect of the same life force that animates your own being. Grief becomes a gateway to deeper love because you experience how death and renewal are woven together in an eternal dance of creative transformation. Stay with us and comment below about your own experiences with nature's healing power, because what we're sharing next could completely transform how you approach every aspect of your life. The practical applications of this ancient wisdom are as limitless as nature itself. The old traditions developed specific techniques for different aspects of human experience, all based on learning from the intelligence inherent in natural systems. For physical health, they studied how ecosystems maintain balance and applied those principles to diet, movement, and healing practices. For emotional well-being, they observed how water flows around obstacles and learned to move through life challenges with similar fluidity and grace. For mental clarity, they watched how mountains stand unmoved by passing storms and developed unshakable inner stability. For creative expression, they noticed how nature never creates the same thing twice, how infinite variation emerges from simple principles, and they allowed this understanding to flow through their art, music, and storytelling. For relationships, they observed how different species support each other in complex ecological webs and learned to create human communities based on mutual aid rather than competition. For spiritual development, they recognized how every natural system involves cycles of expansion and contraction, activity and rest, and they structured their practices to honor these rhythms rather than forcing constant growth or effort. One of the most transformative practices they developed was what we might call conscious co-creation with natural forces. Instead of seeing themselves as separate agents trying to impose their will on a resistant world, they learned to sense the natural direction of life force in any situation and align their actions with that deeper intelligence. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up personal agency. It means becoming incredibly skillful at distinguishing between actions that flow with the grain of reality and those that work against it. When you begin to live this way, you discover that life becomes simultaneously more effortless and more powerful. You find yourself in the right place at the right time with increasing frequency. The resources you need appear just when you need them. Relationships become more harmonious because you're responding to people from a place of natural wisdom rather than reactive emotion. Creative projects unfold with a sense of inevitability, as if they're growing themselves through you rather than being forced into existence by your personal will. The ancient seers understood that this way of being wasn't just a more pleasant way to live, it was actually how human beings were designed to function. They saw our current state of separation and struggle as a kind of developmental phase, necessary but temporary, like the caterpillar stage before transformation into a butterfly. They prophesied that there would come a time when enough human beings remembered their true nature, that a collective transformation would occur, ushering in what they called the Great Turning, or the Age of Reunion. Many contemporary wisdom teachers believe we're living in that prophesied time right now. The signs are everywhere. More people than ever before are experiencing spontaneous spiritual awakenings. Interest in ancient wisdom traditions is exploding across all cultures. Scientific research is validating what indigenous peoples have always known about the intelligence of plants, the consciousness of ecosystems, the healing power of connection with nature. Even our global crises, as challenging as they are, seem designed to wake us up to the consequences of living in separation from the natural world. But this great transformation won't happen automatically. It requires individual human beings like you to make the choice to remember, to reconnect, to live differently. Every time you choose to spend conscious time in nature, every time you listen deeply to what your body needs, every time you align your actions with natural rhythms rather than artificial schedules, you're participating in the healing of the world. The ancients taught that when enough individuals make this shift, what they called the 100th monkey effect occurs. The new way of being reaches a critical mass and suddenly becomes available to everyone, transforming human civilization in ways that seem miraculous but are actually just the natural result of remembering who we really are. And here's perhaps the most beautiful part of all. As you awaken to your true relationship with the natural world, you don't just heal yourself, you become a healing presence for others. Your very way of being begins to remind other people of possibilities they had forgotten. Your peace becomes contagious, your joy becomes magnetic, your wisdom becomes a gift that touches everyone whose life intersects with yours. The ancient mystery schools taught that this was the ultimate purpose of spiritual development, not personal enlightenment for its own sake, but becoming a clear channel through which the healing intelligence of life itself could flow into the world. They called such people medicine carriers, bridge builders, earth healers, knowing that they were the ones who would midwife humanity through its great transformation. This isn't some distant future possibility. This is available to you right now, in this moment, through the simple choice to begin listening to the wisdom that has been calling your name from every birdsong, every rustling leaf, every breath of wind that has ever touched your skin. The earth has been waiting for you to remember. The ancient ones have been holding space for your awakening, and now here you are, ready to step into the fullness of who you came here to be. I hope these words have ignited something eternal within you, something that knows without doubt that you are far more than you ever imagined, connected to forces of love and intelligence beyond anything your mind can grasp. If you feel that recognition stirring in your heart, please follow us, share in the comments what nature has awakened in you, and give this video a like. Because this isn't just information we're sharing, it's an invitation to join the most important transformation in human history.